Hopefully. Hopefully it won't shit itself like it did last time. And we'll just see if it turns up on YouTube. Yeah, because it might take an eternity. Just might take an eternity. Make sure everything's up. Wet conditions as well, oh boy. That's going to be fun. Fitted tyres, yep, definitely wet conditions. Full track map. 14 cars, okay. Race Spec Esports. See if we can spot it. Is this it? Yep, this is it. Fantastic, so stream's up, chat's up, we're all good to go. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to round 13 of the PS4 Tier 2 Pacific Series here on Race Spec Esports. As you can probably tell, we are here at the Marina Bay Street Circuit, ready for the Singapore Grand Prix. And these drivers are definitely not liking it at the moment. Heavy rain here in qualifying, and it doesn't appear to be easing up either. As the first respective lap time is curving Texas with a 1 minute 56.869. Some of the most notable features about the Singapore Grand Prix, first held in 2008, has become pretty much a permanent fixture on the calendar. It was the first ever night race in Formula One history. It's a tight, technical, rather bumpy racetrack. A typical sort of street circuit characteristics. But its most notable feature is the fact that this is the longest race on the calendar in terms of time, as Tier 3 proved. We went about 10, almost 20 minutes over time from where we usually finish with Tier 3. Just shows you how long the race is. Obviously it didn't help with the intermediate conditions right at the beginning of the race, but still very, very, very long race. So this race will test out the driver's endurance. It's a technical circuit and the race is long, so I imagine there's going to be some sweaty boys after this race. And as you can see from the respective lap times, the field is rather spread out, but I imagine as the time goes on, as the session progresses, times will start to come a bit closer. But as you can see, very, very wet conditions here at Singapore. F1 Hawk will cross the line, do a 59.5. Jumps up to P5. Harass, he too was on a flying lap. He will come around the final two corners, 23 turns. I think it's 23. Yes, it's 23 here at Singapore. Has the most corners out of any racetrack in F1, except for now Vietnam. I'm pretty sure Vietnam has more corners. No, they have the exact same amount of corners. Both tracks have 23 turns. There you go. I thought Vietnam had a bit more. As our current pole sitter curving Texas is showing what everyone should be doing. Massive tank slappers and almost hitting the pit wall. Good stuff, curving. You're showing the young kids the way. As The Rock jumps up to the top of the table with a 1:56.817. He's just half a tenth quicker than curving Texas. So very, very close between the top two. Breno, Kickbutt Kiwi. Kickbutt Kiwi's coming through the third sector, full of 90-degree corners underneath the grandstand. Bit of a dry section of the racetrack. It's quite a cool characteristic. Not all of this racetrack is wet. A bit like Monaco in the famous tunnel section, you've got these overpasses which give you brief amount of dry track. And you do have to be careful there because there is a sudden change in grip. You know, you're on a wet surface, it's a bit slippery, and then on a corner exit, or here at corner entry into turn one, where you got the overpass, you have to be just a little bit careful on the brakes. If you're too hard on the brakes at the beginning of the corner, and you're not trail braking enough, you are definitely going to lock up for sure. So you do have to be aware of that. And I think Kickbutt Kiwi's going on a second flying lap, so we're going to ride on board with him. He's coming around turn 5, heading down the sort of back straight, I guess that's what you can call it. Heading towards turn 7, Memorial Corner. It's one of the few overtaking spots on the circuit, turn 8. the right-hander, 90-degree right-hander, second gear. He'll short shift. No, he won't. Okay, interesting. Into fourth gear for turn 9. Then on this brief straightaway, before the most infamous part on this racetrack, the Singapore Sling. This used to be a really tight and stupid chicane back when this track was first created. It's been redesigned since 2013, I think it was redesigned, but prior to that point it was a really stupidly tight chicane, and drivers would often go airborne over it because it had large curbs lining the inside, lining the apexes of the chicane. Cost Kimi Raikkonen and I think Kamui Kobayashi rather famously going airborne at those corners. Kimi famously losing a front wing and retiring from the race, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it is a fun time. That's exactly what it is. Wet time, fun time. Well, that's the way you kind of have to approach it, isn't it? You can't just go, oh great, it's wet weather, time to sulk around and just have a bad time. You might as well try and enjoy yourself. As Kiwi jumps to the top, to second place rather, a 1:56.6. Current top time is Sir L in the Red Bull, 1 minute 55.845. He's just under a second clear of Kickbutt Kiwi. That's actually a very nice time by Sir L. And also he's done it on 3-lap-old wet tyres. Is it 3-lap-old? Yeah, there we go. On best. His best lap time, 3-lap-old wets. It's often a good idea to use slightly scrubbed wet tyres or intermediate tyres because they're up to temperature. That's the key thing about a wet weather tyre, is the temperature. If they don't have enough heat in them, you don't get any grip at all. You're basically sliding everywhere. And that's the problem with fresh wet compound tyres, is that they take a little while to, to warm up, to grip into the surface. With scrub tyres, they're already set, ready to go. With slick tyres, they come up to temperature very, very, very quickly. But with a grooved wet or intermediate, it does take a little while. But the conditions are easing, apparently, as the Rock and Curving Texas have fitted on inters. But I can see the Rock has changed that back to wets. But it seems that the conditions are getting better. The times are tumbling. We'll see what Tri-Kid and Jerkinemo can do. He's coming around the final 2 corners, turns 22 and 23. It's 1:59.085. He jumps into the top 10. Jerkinemo, whereabouts is he? He is coming up to turn 9. Heading onto the brief straightaway just before the Singapore Sling. 5th gear, 6th gear, into 7th, I imagine. There we go. Down to 3rd gear for the first part of the Sling. Sideways, you can see that there. The car not really sticking to the road very well. Heading over the Anderson Bridge and into the slowest corner on the racetrack, turn 13. And the newly introduced DRS zone on this straightaway, heading up to turn 14. Making turn 14 a real overtaking opportunity now. It was kind of a half-hearted overtaking opportunity. If you could get a good run out of 13, you might be able to have a go into 14, but now with the DRS zone, there's a bit more emphasis to try and make a move there. Into turns 16 and 17, you get these cascade of 90-degree corners, about 6 of them in total. Then 18, 19, more 90-degree corners, into 20 and 21. Then probably the scariest part of this racetrack, the final 2 corners, in these conditions particularly, because the back end really doesn't want to grip in when you really want it to. You can see they're sliding a little bit, but he controls it well, sliding some more across the line. That's a 1:58.3. You can see there, the back end not wanting to grip in. It wants to step out. It wants to chuck you into the pit wall. But you have to try and resist that, try and keep the power down. And Jerkinemo does a good job of doing that. Couple drivers on wets, couple drivers on inters as well, which is very interesting to see. We've still got a bit of time left in the session, but drivers need to get out with about 2 minutes 30, maybe 2 minutes 45 in these conditions, because the out lap is so long. Their flying laps are 1:55s, meaning their out laps are 2 minutes plus, because typically you're not running high ERS, you're not running high fuel or anything like that, so you're losing about 5 to maybe 8 seconds compared to your flying lap. Add on to the fact that you're leaving the pit lane as well, and that compromised first couple of corners, it starts to add up to around 15 to about 15 seconds down on your flying lap. So drivers do have to be careful. They can't leave with like 2 minutes to go, otherwise you will not have enough time to set a flying lap. Speaking of which, The Rock has just started one. Kick Butt Kiwi on the intermediate tyres, and he's on an outlap as well. We better keep an eye on the likes of him and Curving, just to see what their respective pace is like. Obviously, it's kind of a 50-50 period. It's not quite intermediate, but it's not quite wet either. The track is drying out slightly. So drivers are gambling with the intermediate tyres, see if they can find more speed. The Rock he's found almost 3/10 in the first sector. Now he's heading through the second one, through turn 8, into turn 9. Takes a nice line through there, third gear. Nice and gentle on the throttle. Very important thing in these wet conditions. Be nice and gentle. Wet quali dry race should be fun. It should always be fun with wet quali in a dry race. Try a dry quali and a half wet race. That's a lot of fun as well. Typically wet weather is just fun. Heading towards turn 14 now. This ends the second sector. He's up by almost a second. So the conditions are getting a lot better. But is it into time? I guess we'll find out in just a moment. Now into the cascade of 90s. Turn 16, 17. Heading up to turns 18 and 19. You have to be careful here at 18. I've seen drivers face plant into that tyre barrier, the Fly Emirates tyre barrier on the outside. Then into 20 and 21. You can see here using a range of gears through the corner. Fully using third gear though. I imagine he would have short shifted there, but no. Used all of the gear. Across the line, it's a 55.7. He takes pole position by just over half a tenth of a second. So the conditions are improving. But who's on the right tyre? Kevin's on the foot. Look at this, all the drivers coming out for their final laps. So traffic is going to be a bit of a problem for some of these guys. Kevin is only just up on his time. What about Kick Butt Kiwi? He's about even with his time. So perhaps the intermediate tyre, is the wrong tyre to be on. It's still wet. Edmonds improved, done a 156.7. It seems he's invalidated, so I think his session is done. Sir L, let's see what he can do. Coming through turn 3, gets on the power. You can see there the back end really squirming around, trying to find grip. Doesn't use all of the circuit at turn 5, through turn 6. To turn 7, Memorial Corner, and he's up by a tenth of a second. If he can just keep that gap in the next 2 sectors, he's got pole. He can beat The Rock. Can anyone else beat that time? Dre's down on his time. He's a second down on his time. Grim Reaper's invalidated. Harass is invalidated. And these guys will be a bit touch and go when the counter hits 0. Remember, there's no more glitch in this game where you can take advantage of the time remaining, the 2 minutes time remaining, and it's illegal in this league when before the patch came in, so you couldn't take advantage of it in the first place. But Kick Butt Kiwi, he jumps up to P2, so he had improved, but not in the first sector. He just found a lot of time in the second and third sectors. Sorrel, I didn't catch his sector 2 time there. So we'll just have to see what he can do at the end of the lap. Making his way around nice and gently on the throttle, being patient with the car. Let it do its thing. Underneath the grandstand, third gear, maybe fourth. No, second even to get that extra rotation. Short shifts again. No, uses all of third. Interesting. Up into 6th gear, down to 5th gear for the final 2 corners. What's this time going to be like? It's a 55.2. That's a great lap time by Sorel. He's half a second clear of the Rock in P2. But he's on another flying lap. What's his times looking like? He's coming through the second sector. There's a slow car. That's Blocky Rex. He's P8. He won't be improving his position at the very least. 8th is going to be the best he can manage. Kevin Texas on a fly. Let's see what his Sector 2 time looks like. He's up by 3.5 tenths of a second. That's looking like a 56 flat at this stage. He needs to improve by another 2 tenths in this third sector if he wants third place. Through turn 17 now. Doesn't use all of the road though. He is being a bit cautious. Third gear, second gear, underneath the grandstand. You can see slightly different technique between him and Sorel. Sorel keeping it in third. Texas using second gear there. Short shift, fourth gear, fifth gear, sixth gear. Around the final 2 corners. Keep an eye on that time. 44, 55. Okay. So he does improve by 4 3/4 tenths of a second. 4 3/4 tenths of a second. There we go. I got that out eventually. Kickbutt Kiwi, he's not going to be improving, it seems. He's just going to cross the line. No, he's going to come into the pits and retire. It's all down to Blocky. No, he's retiring as well. So it's L who takes pole position here at Singapore with a simply exquisite time. 1 minute 55.237. Half a second clear of P2 being held by the Rock F1. Kickbutt Kiwi qualifying in third place, 200ths slower than the Rock. It's very, very close between those two, but a standout performance by Sorel. Very, very well done. And we'll just have to wait on Kickbutt Kiwi to retire from the session. There we go, on cue. And that will end qualifying here at Singapore. Can we see this wet weather pace translate into the dry? Ready for the race here at Singapore. But it's Sorel on pole, as I said, half a second clear of the Rock. And then P3 goes to Kickbutt Kiwi. Curving Texas in 4th. F1 Hawk P5. Edmund in P6. Jerkanemo P7. G4 Stray, a lowly P8 for this man, considering he is our championship leader. Trikid in 9th and Blocky Rex rounding out the top 10. Grim Reaper in 11th. Harass in 12th. Breno in 13th. And Banana Cake Pie with a collision penalty. Must have been a collision penalty. Collision with Blocky Rex on that lap. So he got a 5 grid place penalty even though he's starting from the back, so that won't affect him too much. Now it's time for a apparently dry race. So I don't quite know the strategy for Singapore, not off the top of my head. What I do know off experience is that the medium tyre can go about, I think it was 18 laps, 18 or 19 laps. I managed to do that in an intermediate to dry race. It went intermediate conditions at about lap 12, and I changed to medium tyres at lap 13. And I did the rest of the race on those tyres. The tyres got up to 75%. They were within puncture territory, but they were okay with about 3 laps to go. When it hit about 3 laps to go, then the tyres really dropped off. So I have a feeling that it's going to be something along the lines of a medium to hard strategy around here. The hard tyre is quite shocking though around here, but you don't want to be doing a 2-stop, I feel. It's a 60 km/h pit lane here at Singapore, so you do spend a fair amount of time in this lane. So I don't think a 2-stop is viable. But of course, there is that magical safety car that can come out every so often, and that will shake things up massively. So I reckon it's going to be a medium to hard strat, as most of the people are proving me right. Sorel, The Rock, Edmund, Jerkanemo, Grim Reaper, Harass, Breno and Banana Cake Pie, all of them starting on the medium compound tyre. 4 drivers on the softs, Curving Texas, F1 Hawk, Trikid and Blocky Rex. with two drivers on the hards, Kickbutt Kiwi and G-Force Drake. Now it's a risk, a big risk going onto the hard tyre straight away, because as I mentioned before, this racetrack is technical and it's very demanding. It's very easy to make mistakes, and it's a street circuit, so you got walls lining the racetrack. If you get damage on the early laps, your race is screwed. Your race is done. So for those hard runners, they really have to avoid trouble, because if they get in trouble within those first couple of laps, their race is done. And considering one of the drivers on the hard tyre is our championship leader, that's a big risk from him, but he's willing to put it on the line, willing to try the alternate strategy to try and boost his way up the field. It'll be very interesting to see how those hard runners play themselves out. It'll be also interesting to see how the soft runners play themselves out. Will the soft runners do a two-stop, or will they do maybe a soft to hard? Or are they madmen and go soft to medium? Maybe they do some mega stints on those tyres, and perhaps they can make them work. Although I think they'll be very much in puncture territory towards the ends of both the soft and the medium stints. So it'll be very interesting to see how those fellas play themselves out in this race as well. But the drivers are making their way around the third sector here at Singapore, getting ourselves ready for the longest race in this championship season. And if there's a safety car, well, it's going to get even longer. It's going to get a lot longer. So the AIs will take over and they'll line up into their respective grid slots. We'll see how this goes, shall we? We'll just wait on Banana Cake Pie to line up into his grid slot, and we will get the 31 laps of this Singapore Grand Prix underway. Alrighty, we're all good to go here. So is the game. We got 5 red lights, and it's lights out, and away we go here at Singapore. And it seems Sorel has got a great start. The Rock certainly hasn't. Look at that, it's 4 wide, almost 5 wide into turn 1. Oh, and there's collisions, there's contact. There's no debris from what I could see. I haven't seen any carbon fibre fly off just yet, but some drivers getting great starts, others getting shocking ones. The most shocking of which, the Rock. From second place all the way down to plumb last. An absolutely horrendous start for the Ferrari. Tri-Kid making a move on F1 Hawk. No, F1 Hawk counterattacks down the inside. Pushes Tri-Kid off the circuit. Blocky Rex might fancy himself here. No, Tri-Kid sends it back and into the wall. Heading through turn 8. Through turn 9 now. Drivers still trying to sort themselves out. The midfield particularly trying to sort themselves out. We'll have a look at the position changes here. Jerk and Emo, a fantastic start, up 5 positions from 7th to 2nd. Blocky Rex as well from 10th to 5th, also a great start. 3 positions as well for Grim Reaper, as well as Tri-Kid, so both the Williams getting good starts. But the worst off, Curving Texas down 5 from 4th down to 9th as he makes a move of Grim Reaper as he makes back a position. But again, the Rock right at the back of the field. There he is there. He's battling with Breno. Oh, in contact, I think, as well. Heading through turn 15. He's down in plumb last in 14th place. But a superb start from Sorel. He will lead the way here in Singapore, completing the first lap. Leading the way by 0.8 of a second as the leaderboard proceeds to have a bit of a fit, as it typically does. Kiwi tried to defend his position from F1 Hawk, I believe. I have to wait until the cars go through the first sector, so then the game sort of fixes itself. It's a nice little glitch that happens with the leaderboard on the second lap. Tends to have a bit of a fit. The Kickbutt Kiwi, he has got F1 Hawk all over the back of him. I had a feeling, oh, Hawk would look, and he has. Kickbutt Kiwi has run wide. Oh, in contact! Oh, and spin! Half spun! F1 Hawk. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. F1 Hawk got by. Maybe there was contact between him and Kiwi at turn 7. Perhaps that was payback. Perhaps that was unintentional. Regardless, F1 Hawk finds himself down in 7th place now. With a lot of work to do. Look at this. These guys aren't mucking around here. They really want to get a move on. Tri-Kid all over the back of Blocky, looking left, right and centre to try and get by. Meanwhile, the top 2 are really starting to pull away. Kiwi is sort of a roadblock for these fresh, soft and medium runners. He just doesn't have the speed that the others can carry. But the cars behind can't find a way past. There's not too many overtaking opportunities here. You've got turn 1 and turn 7 as Blocky makes a mistake. You've also got now turn 14 at the beginning of the 3rd sector. But that's about it here at Singapore. There's really not too many overtaking opportunities as finally, after 3 laps of green flag running, where DRS is now enabled. Excuse me. Look at that midfield pack though, going through turn 3. Look at this. This train of cars. And not a single one of them is separated by anything greater than a second. Look at that. It's always point something. It's not 1 point something. From 4th all the way down to 14th. Oh, and wide goes Tri-Kid. And here comes F1 Hawk down the inside into 8. Contact, more contact there. These guys, they're not racing cleanly. They want to get to move on. It's kind of what you have to do on street circuits. Very difficult to make a clean pass. Sort of have to get the elbows out, make a bit of room for yourself. Over the Anderson Bridge. Into turn 13, the hairpin. Hard on the accelerator, 3rd, 4th gear, getting a nice view of the train behind. The top 2 are now starting to close as well, so I better keep an eye on this. Because Jurgenimo, he's within a second of Sorel. Very, very important that he stays within that second. If that builds to anything greater than a second, it's going to be difficult for Jurgenimo to try and close in on the race leader. But look at this. Look at that train of cars, that snake, running through the 3rd sector on the minimap. That is simply exquisite to see all the cars that close to each other. Oh, and a massive moment for Blocky Rex. That was huge at the final corner. But he catches it, and he's still in 4th place, and no damage as well. Didn't make contact with the inside wall. But what a magnificent sight this is. And Kitbuck Kiwi is doing a good enough job to try and hold that 3rd place. He needs to try and hold it as well. If he can, that will be a massive benefit to his race. It's a massive detriment for the soft runners because they were hoping to A, make positions, and B, get into clear traffic, get into clear air. Can really maximise the soft tyre because these will burn up very quickly, I imagine. I heard prior to the Tier 3 race that these tyres can last about 9 laps as F1 Hawk is sending it on Tri-Kid at the hairpin. Tri-Kid's not having any of it though. He holds the position, now up into turn 14. Oh, tight. Oh, and down the inside goes Emmett, and contact between him and the Williams. And the Williams goes into the Haas of F1 Hawk. Massive damage for Tri-Kid, I think. If I can ride on board with curving, might give us a good idea. There's a missing end plate and a spin. It's a harass. He's now fallen away from the train. Has he got damage? He does too. Look at that. He's got a red front wing. That's red for sure. So he has to go into the pits and get that replaced. As Banana Cake Pie gives a 3-second time penalty. Multiple warnings. Tri-Kid goes into the pits. Was that a speeding penalty? Give me a minute. I am intrigued by this. I reckon that was a speeding penalty. No, he didn't get a speeding pen. There you go. I thought it looked like he did. Blocky Rex, 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings. Curving right in behind F1 Hawk. DRS overtake. He's going to look here down the inside, heading into Memorial Corner, turn 7. And he gets the job done into P5. And here comes Grim Reaper right in behind the Haas, right up in behind his gearbox. And all of that scuffling going on here is benefiting the leaders. Sorel, N-Jerk and Emo, but also Kickbutt Kiwi on that hard tyre. He's now got track position over these guys. They haven't found a way past, and now they're really battling. Look at this, into the hairpin. Onto the straightaway, heading up to turn 14. Grim Reaper has got DRS, so does F1 Hawk. Edmund's got a run, but I reckon there's a question mark over his head after what happened right here a lap prior, where he made contact with Tri-Kid. A bit of a dive bomb, and then I reckon he missed his braking point. I reckon he did miss his braking point. I don't think it was intentional. But regardless, I think there might be a question mark over that incident post-race. So we've got this train of cars, this almighty train. And into the pits, F1 Hawk. Oh, he has to slow down, he does. Now what's he up to? Is this a planned stop, I wonder, or has he got damage? He has his wing intact, but he might have lime green. And he does. There's the man with the front wing. You can see that both end plates are intact, but he might have sort of damage underneath that I can't see, resulting in a lime green wing, and that is a massive detriment to you. He's on the medium tyres, so he must be pitting again. Those tyres will not make it. They won't do 25 laps. I know that. They can only do about 19, and then they're absolutely toasted. They're absolutely dead. Oh, and he spins, does he? He did. And he's now got wing damage. That rubs a little bit more salt into the wound. That does. Maybe clipping the inside wall at the pit exit. I've done that in qualifying. I half spun the car, didn't completely spin it out, but I did half spin it. I reckon he did the same thing though. That's a big blow, massive blow. Back up to this, shall we? Banana making a move on G4 Stray here, side by side. This could be tight into the cascade of 90s in the third sector through turn 17. Side by side still into 18 and 19. This isn't healthy, fellas. Sort it out. And they have, because Breno and The Rock are now very much in this battle. Up to the final two corners as Blocky Rex comes in. Lap 7 of 31. He's on the soft tyre. What is he going on to? It looks like the mediums. That's his pit window, lap 7 through 9, onto the medium compound, and there they are. So he's doing a two-stop. I don't think that's the right strategy. In my opinion, I don't think that's the right strategy. The pit lane is very long here at Singapore. I think he's going to lose out. G4's Dre trying to make a move here. Around the outside into turn 7. He gets the job done. Very deep on the brakes. Oh, Banana was very close to making contact there. Breno looking left, right and centre. The Rock getting a switchback on Breno, but he hasn't got the traction to keep the car alongside. He stays in P10 for now. But what great scrapping between these guys. And to think we're not even close to the halfway mark yet. And no safety car yet either. As F1 Hawk gets a front wing replaced. He's on the hard tyre. He's going to go to the end. As I say that, Banana Cake Pie has had a massive moment at the hairpin. Big damage on that wing. That sends his race down the drain. I'm surprised there hasn't been a safety car for Debris because of that. I have seen the game bring out a safety car purely because of Debris, or even a car spinning out for that matter. And there's Breno going slowly. Is he trying to give up the position to Banana perhaps? Maybe he feels a degree of responsibility in that. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see what happened, but I have a feeling Breno might have had something to do with it. So the field is now starting to spread out. You can see from the minimap, it's really, really starting to spread out. This is the closest battle at the moment. 5-second penalty for Banana, speeding in the pits. And here comes Edmund on Grim Reaper. Can he get a run here? No, he can't. Not quite close enough to the Williams. Into turn 7. See here how much more speed these guys are able to carry in the dry conditions compared to the wet. These guys were tiptoeing around the course in those full wet conditions. And these, you see them, they're a lot more comfortable. The car looks way more stable, way more drivable. See them trying to push the limits of the track, using the curbs, trying to widen out the corners as much as they can. And then he's got DRS, he's got a run. He won't be close enough though. He might be able to set up a move into turn 1 if he can keep it close to Grim Reaper. He might be able to make a move. Meanwhile, the top 2 pulling away, doing their own thing. I've noticed that Jerkanemo, he's lost a little bit of time to Sorel. He was a bit closer, but he hasn't fallen away dramatically. He's hanging around that 2-second margin of Sorel, which is a really good thing. If you can see the car in front of you that you want to try and battle, and that's always a good thing as curving comes into the pits. If he can just keep sight of Sorel, if he can just keep sight of him, he knows he has a shot. Because Sorel, if he makes a mistake, then Jerkanemo can pounce on it. He's close enough to pounce. So at the moment, it's good driving from the leaders. Meanwhile, in third, as a couple of drivers get pens, as Jerkanemo makes a mistake and gets a 3-second time penalty. Dear, oh dear. Kipper Kiwi's doing a fine drive as well. In fact, he's closing in on the top 2 on those hard tyres. He's got clear air in front and behind. He's just able to do his own speed, his own pace, and not worry about anyone. So he is closing in. And we got this battle for P4, Reaper, Edmund, and now Dre is getting involved on those 8-lap-old hards. As it's kind of suggesting with Kipper Kiwi, with him closing in on Jerkanemo, perhaps these medium tyres are starting to switch off and the hard tyres are starting to switch on. Perhaps in this stage in the race, the hard tyre is the better tyre. But we'll have to wait and see. We need a couple of laps just to see that pace really start to show. But right now, these 3 close together, ready to scrap it out for position. And I don't think Dre will be mucking around either. He knows the longer he stays behind these 2, the more time he's going to lose, as The Rock gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. So I reckon if there's a slight opening for Dre, I reckon he's going to send it. Let's have a look. Through turns 1 and 2 into turn 3, second gear at the apex. Nice and hard on the accelerator on the exit, trying to get the power down. I don't think he's close enough this time round to have a go at Edmund. And I don't think Edmund is quite close enough to have a go at Reaper. It is a factor around this racetrack, dirty air, it is a factor. Being stuck behind someone for so long, you get all that dirty air over your car. You just can't take the corners as quickly as car in front. As Banana Cake Pie makes a mistake in the 3rd sector, spinning out. And I reckon he's got damage. He does, he'll be coming in for a new front wing. Look at this as well. These are for the final point scoring positions, 8th, 9th and 10th. And these 2, oh, and into the wall goes Breno. He's not having a good night, it seems, that McLaren. He's not having a good night at all. Banana's retired from the race. Retiring in the pits, he's had enough. Now these 2 Alphas can get a move on without that McLaren in the way. As Breno, that's a 10-second time penalty there for Breno. I have a feeling he might be retiring as well. These 3 still battling as Curving Texas overtakes his teammate for P8. Sector 3 yellow flags. Is that Reaper? Oh, I saw that. I caught the ending of that, but I did see that. That is a reset to circuit there. Tyre attempts all out of whack. Yep, spun out. Aha, yeah. Nice. 2 reset to circuits I spot. For those who don't know, that is incredibly illegal in Race Spec. You cannot reset the circuit under any circumstances. It's very unsportsmanlike. I mean, if you make a mistake, you can't just push a button and just redeem yourself from it, you know? If you make a mistake, you have to get back on the circuit and correct it. Can't let the game do it for you. As I think Breno will be retiring from this race. I have a feeling he will be. There we go. So 2 retirements, 12 drivers are left in this race. Can't do that. Sorry, but you cannot do that. I'm sure the stewards will be looking at it post-race. But we're closing in on the halfway mark. We're at lap 11 of 31. Still a long, long way to go here at Singapore. And the drivers will know this. They will look at that lap counter and think, seriously, is it only 11 laps in? You would think you'd be halfway through by this stage, but no, they're about a third of the way through. Very long race here at Singapore. More time equals more chance for mistakes, so these drivers, they'll be sweating, I reckon. They'll be pushing to the limit, but trying to not crash into those Armco barriers lining the circuit. As Jerkanimo comes into the pits from second place, he'll be trying to get an undercut on Sorel. And hopefully he'll come out in clear traffic as well. If he gets stuck behind someone, he'll lose a little bit of time. And look at that, I think he will come out in clear air. The next car is the Williams of Reaper. He'll be coming into the pits. So here comes Jerkanimo coming out now. Here comes Texas. I think Jerkanimo will come out in front here. That might have been a warning. Oh, Texas around the outside into turn 3. Can he put the power down? Great move by Mr. Texas. Very opportunistic. But the opportunity was there right round the outside of turn 3. Great move. And that ultimately hinders Jerkanimo. He needed that clear air to try and close in on Sorel. He hasn't got that now. He's stuck behind an Alfa Romeo. And he's not like he's going to get past. Those medium tyres are the better tyre. 2-lap-old mediums on Curving's car. They're fairly fresh, only lightly scrubbed in. He's going to have some fair speed underneath him during this stint. So he'll only just pull away from Jerkanimo. And in fact, I reckon Blocky will close in on Jerk, so long as he doesn't make too many mistakes, of course. Sorel, does he come into the pits this lap? I reckon he should. Yep. Cover off the undercut. The guy behind you, he's on fresher tyres, trying to push hard. Nice and easy into the pits as Kickbutt Kiwi takes the lead of this race. So Sorel, what are you up to? Hard tyres, as I thought you might. He's going to go to the end of the race on those tyres. Edmund into the pits as well. The Rock stays out. Going to do another lap. Here comes Curving. Keep an eye on that blue dot of Sorel. There he is there. Does he come out in front of Jerk? Here we go. Round the turn 3. Is this a carbon copy move that Curving did? It is. Jerkanimo learning from the Alfa Romeo who overtook him a lap prior round the outside of turn 3. So the undercut has worked. A brilliant bit of strategy there. Oh, it's a Red Bull of Sorel down the inside at 7. They're going to have a scrap. Sorel's not done yet. Oh, did Jerkanimo just give him the position? I reckon he did. I reckon he backed off the throttle then. He was well in front at the corner. Interesting. Getting the position, but giving it up. Back to Sorel in P5. From my point of view, I thought Jerkanimo was in front heading into turn 8. I might have been wrong. But what it also means is now Jerkanimo is right in behind Sorel. Remember, these two were separated by 2 seconds before the pit stops. Now they're separated by half a second. So Jerkanimo is still benefiting from the pit stops. But now he has to chase him once again. And the dirty air will not help. Meanwhile, see if we can't find some battles, huh? Got a battle for P8 between Tri-Kid and Harass. Separated by just 7/10 of a second. He's going to get DRS here. Going to try and power pass. Nope, he's going to wait. I reckon he's going to set up a move heading into turn 7 if he can get a good run in the corners prior. I'll just go over here just briefly. See here, Giaconimo gaining. And ultimately not close enough to attack Sorel. Harass. Oh, he got past Tri-Kid before the corner. Perhaps Tri-Kid made a mistake that I didn't pick up on. But Harass is now into P8. We're still not at the halfway mark, people. We're still a lot. We're about 2 laps away from the halfway mark in this race. Man, this is a long one. Heading around turn 13. Giaconimo, he really needs to stay within Sorel. He can't fall away from him this time round. He has to keep up with him. Blocky is not gaining. He is not gaining on these two. Perhaps he's making mistakes. I'm not too sure. But he is not gaining. He is in P7, 2.9 seconds behind these two. As the Rock is coming into the pits off those medium compound tyres. Done 13 laps on them. A shocking start to the race. Falling from second, a great qualifying, second place, all the way down to 14th. Where will he come out? He will lose 3 positions here. Harass, Tri-Kid and Edmund will pass him. So the Rock will fall down to 10th place. Grim Reaper a fair way behind in 11th. So the Rock in contention for some points at the very least. Tri-Kid is now getting hunted down by Edmund here. Battle for P8. Edmund almost in the wall. Yeah. Oh boy. We're now hitting the halfway mark, and this is typical Singapore, where the field starts to spread out and the battles are few and far between. I'll try and keep it as entertaining as I can, but there's going to be so much I can do. At the moment, these two are putting on a nice little show. Over the Anderson Bridge, into turn 13, second gear. Opens DRS here. And here comes Edmund. Oh, Tri-Kid has DRS as well. Okay. He must have been within a second of Harass heading into the DRS detection zone just before the hairpin. See here, Edmund on fresh, hard compound tyres. He'd be that much quicker than the mediums that are 9 laps old, with Harass and Tri-Kid on 9 lap old mediums. 3-second time penalty for Tri-Kid as well. He's not having a good night, it seems. He's losing time to the people around him. He's on those medium tyres. He's going to feel pretty bad on those things. Oh, understeer for Edmund though. Heading through turn 1, just mixing the braking zone perhaps. Missing the apex. Losing a little bit of ground, but he's still up there. OP Magic. Join my party? Oh, you won't be able to join my one. I'm doing a stream, mate. Oh, dearie me. These two still scrapping it out through the second sector. See what else is going on, shall we? These two won't be battling too much as Grim Reaper gets a 3-second time penalty. These two out in front. Hard tyres. So when did everyone pit off the mediums? Again, I'll just quickly check. Pit stops. Make sure I use all of the stuff that's available to me. Lap 8, lap 9, lap 13. Okay, so we're going to be expecting these guys to come in at about lap 18, maybe lap 19 off the hard tyre. Going onto the medium tyre to the end of the race. In fact, there we go. G4 Stray onto a set of mediums. He's going to go to the end of the race. And where will he come out? He's going to come out in front of his teammate in P6. But he's now on fresh rubber. And knowing Dre and his driving style and the fact that he's championship leader, he's definitely not going to muck around. Oop, accidentally went to the wrong car. Still went to the wrong car. It went back to Edmund for some reason. Deary me. I wanted to look back from G-Force's Dre's point of view because he has his teammate right in behind. So Dre will be aiming to go to the end of the race on these tyres. He has to push like a madman. But he's got a license to do so as well. He's got 8 seconds to make up to Blocky Rex, and I reckon he can do that. But I also reckon that Blocky will be pitting again. I don't think those mediums can make it to the end. I reckon they're going to explode with about 5 laps to go, maybe 4 laps to go. I reckon they'll be done. It's going to be a bit touch and go. Edmund, a 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings. He's down in 9th place, battling with Tri-Kid still. So even though Edmund's got the upper hand, Tri-Kid's doing enough to hold on to the position. Edmund, I reckon, might have a go here. No, he pulls out of it. I reckon he was going to have a go. Kiwi into the pits. On to the mediums. Now, that means Sorel and Jerkanimo will take the lead of this race. That gap between those two has grown massively. Look at that, 3.6 seconds. And where does Kiwi come out in all of this? Will he come out in front of Blocky? Yes, he will. And he is only 2.22. There we go, the timer sorted itself out. 2 seconds behind Jerkanimo. That's the gap between provisional third and provisional second, because I think Curving will be pitting soon, I reckon. He'll be pitting again. I don't think those tyres will go to the end. I'll be quite surprised if they can. But Kiwi has got a fair amount of incentive now. Fresh tyres, soft tyres. Gap is only 1 second now. He's gained a second in a sector and a half. He's got stupidly good pace. Look at him throwing it into the hairpin. Absolute confidence right now. He's loving this grip. He's going to have a look here. Down the inside into 14. Fresh tyres. Doing the business. Gap between him and Sorel is 4 seconds. And there are plenty of laps to go. And he can go to the end of the race. That ultimately proves the power of the alternate strategy and track position. Because if he didn't hold that third place at the beginning of the race, he wouldn't be in this position. He'd be probably with G4 Stray, who's currently battling Blocky Rex. In fact, he's caught and past him as Blocky comes in. That is the benefit of track position at the beginning. On that harder compound, being up there in third place with that clear air, making the most with what you've got. And now he's in a prime position to take victory here. Look at this, he is gaining massively. 2 seconds now, separating him and Sorel. He's on a completely different planet at the moment. Let's ride on board with him. I want to see how much he's throwing it around. Look at that nice wide line into 13. The important thing with 13 is getting a good exit. Maximising the top speed down this straight. Heading into 14, a bit like 13, you have to get a good exit. There's this nice straight bit. Heading towards turn 16, 17, See that gap closing, that Red Bull's getting bigger. Into 18, underneath the grandstand, into 19. There's the DHL signage lining the racetrack. Into turn 20, 21. Doesn't use all of the curb on the exit though, but he hasn't compromised his run too much. A bit wide through the 22nd corner, but again, hasn't lost too much momentum. Turn 1, 4th gear. Nailing the apex, the 2nd gear at the apex. 3rd gear, 4th gear, 5th gear. Heading into turn 5. Going to use 4th. Short shift maybe? No, it uses all of 4th. Look at that. And here we go. There's going to be no contest here. Around the outside into turn 6. And he gets the job done before the corner, before turn 7. He takes the provisional race lead. That's if Curving pits, and I think he will. 21 laps on the mediums. I don't think he can do that. I genuinely think he can't do that. It's a very long stint on those tyres. Very, very long stint. But he might risk it all for victory. He might be in that sort of mindset. He's got to say, screw it, I'm going to go for it. What else do I have to lose? If he pits, let's have a look. He's probably going to fall down to 5th place, which is a pretty respectable position. It's a pretty respectable position. But what's his mindset? Does he want a respectable 5th? Or does he want it all? I guess we're going to find out in the coming few laps. And no, he's going to come in. He doesn't want to risk it for the biscuit. He's going to come in, and I reckon he's going to come out in 5th. But he's going to be on soft compound tyres, I reckon. No, another set of mediums, okay. He wasn't going to go onto softs. There you go. Another set of mediums. He's got a fair amount of work to do to try and catch up to the drivers in front. But he's got the tyres to do so. But he's running low on fuel. You can tell from the yellow icon that he's running at least on even fuel. He's got nothing extra. He's got nothing lower than that at this stage. So he has to conserve a little bit of fuel. Just a little bit though. Now Kitbuck here, he's just putting the hammer down. That clear air on those fresh tyres. He is pushing over the Anderson Bridge. Tri-Kit has retired from the race in the pit lane. That is retirement number 3. We have 11 left. That gap is opened up. 3.2 seconds now. G-Force Dre is hunting down Sorrell at a rate of knots. That gap has closed down to 4.7 seconds. It was up and over 5 seconds a few moments ago. So he is really pushing this championship leader. In fact, I would like to ride on board with him. I want to see how this man operates around this 5-kilometre racetrack. Through the 3rd sector, Harass has made a mistake. In the 2nd sector, oh, and into the wall. Oh, and look at that, massive wing damage on the Mercedes. He will have to come in and get that replaced, and he will fall outside the top 10 as well. That will promote F1 Hawk into the top 10. There you go. That's what happens when you keep going, folks. You never give up. Never, ever give up. Never. Because you don't know what's going to happen in an F1 race. Blocky Rex is now onto the back of Grim Reaper. This is for P7 on the racetrack. Out of the final corner. He's got plenty of traction. He's got DRS. He won't look here. He will look at turn 7. That's probably the prime overtaking spot on this racetrack. Out of turn 3. Through turn 4. Into turn 5. Here we go. 4th gear. Hardening accelerator. DRS overtake. It's going to be no contest. This time down the inside at turn 6. He'll get the position before turn 7. Up into P7 now for Blocky. His next target is the Rock. Does he have enough pace to try and catch up to the Ferrari? Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, G-Force Dre is closing. Look at that gap, 2.7 seconds now between him and Sorel. And look at that massive amount of rubber from drivers locking up into turn 16. There's a lot of drivers locking up through there. Through into turns 20 and 21 underneath the overpass. Into 22 and 23, the final two turns on the racetrack. That gap is steadily closing. Alright, into turn 1. Fourth gear. And watch the lines that he's taking, people. If you want to learn, take note what gear he's using, where he's braking, when he's getting on the throttle, what ERS he's using, where he's using it. All the things that we can learn collectively just by watching what this guy's doing. This guy's the top of his game in this tier. As I've mentioned countless times, he's the current championship leader. He's got multiple wins in this championship so far, and he looks near untouchable for the championship. Look at this, as F1 Hawk gets a 3-second time penalty. Alright. How is he going to attack this? He'll have DRS. He's going to switch it into overtake. He's gaining a lot. Will he look here? Down the inside. Contact between the two. It looked like Sorel was going to let him by, but he then sort of closed in and turned in on the apex. Like almost as if he had no idea GeForce Dre was there. But it just looked like that Sorel was just going to let him by, but no, he turned in for the apex. Shut the door abruptly, but GeForce Dre was having none of it. He's now into P2. Gap is 7.6 seconds between him to the leader. I better keep an eye on that interval. Will it close? Will it stay the same? Will it open? I'll have a look at pens. I think this will be a good opportunity to. Kitbuck Kiwi's got 3 seconds. GeForce Dre has got nothing. Sorel, he's got nothing but 1 warning. Texas has got 2 warnings. Jokanimo has got 3 seconds. The Rock has got 9 seconds. Blocky has got nothing. Grim Reaper has got 6. Edmund has got 3. And F1 Hawk, I believe that is 6 seconds. Harass has got nothing. So there we go. So the key one is between these two. If Drake can close up, which he currently isn't, as Edmund is going into the pits. What is this all about? Is that a front wing? Yep. He's got damage. So that was P8 that he had. And he might lose out to a Harass here if he's not careful. No, he will. There goes Harass. Into the top 10 now. If GeForce Dre can close in 4.5 seconds to kick Buck Kiwi, he's in with a shot of winning. But at the moment, that gap is sort of stagnant at the moment. It is slowly closing though. And it seems as well Blocky has got the Rock. The Rock with that 9 seconds worth of pens. He's going to lose that P6 to Blocky at this stage, but there's still plenty of racing to go. Gap, 7 seconds now. Will it close up any more than that? He really needs to push here. If he wants to win, he really has to throw it. He has to give it 10 tenths. He has to push 100%. A bit of mistake there at turn 9. He ran a hint wide. He lost about 2 tenths through the Singapore seam. Over the Anderson Bridge. Fortunately, there's no other battles on the racetrack at the moment. So we're going to have to focus on this for a bit, unless something happens. If there's a safety car, that will shake things up massively, but I do not see that happening. Not with the field like this, where everyone's spread out. They're in their own little world right now. Not really in a position to make mistakes, although Dre's missing an apex or two here. Does he have damage from that? He did hit that wall. No, he doesn't. No visible damage, at least. Kiwi, he's going to get a nice toe here from Edmund. So that's going to ease the pressure from GeForce Dre. But that gap has closed. Look at that. 6.7 seconds now with 6 laps to go, including lap 26. That's 6 laps. Remember, if he gets it under 3 seconds, he's in with a shot. It's a very difficult shot for him to get, but it's entirely possible. Also, I'll keep an eye on that gap between Sorel and Curving. I reckon they're going to have a scrap in a minute. Look at that, there's Curving just in the background. I'll keep an eye on that delta. And also, I think Sorel and Curving are on same pens. They are. But Sorel has at least got one more warning up his sleeve. Curving doesn't, so he'll know if he makes one mistake, one track extend, one corner cut, that could be race over for the podium. He might have to stick with P4. But he is closing on the Red Bull. I'll be kind of sad if Sorel loses the podium after qualifying so well. Just the alternate strategy paying dividends. Curving Texas is on a flyer at the moment with the two-stop strategy, making it work. But Sorel, he'll know he has track position. I reckon he will defend quite vigorously for this podium. I reckon he wants this. After qualifying on pole, I reckon he would want at least a podium. What's Curving got up his sleeve? Fresh tyres. Bit of ERS. Sorel has a bit more. We're right on board with the Alpha. Down the back straightaway, I suppose. Quotation marks. Through turn 6 into turn 7. That gap is now half a second. Sorel, he's really struggling in comparison to Curving. Now Curving can take his time in this. Doesn't have to make the move straight away. He can be patient. He's got plenty of laps left. Just needs to find the right moment. Or alternatively, he can send it at the first opportunity. Get by as soon as possible. The risk with that is potential damage and potentially spinning out as well. See there, Curving saying, I'm right here, mate. I'm ready. Through the third sector. Turn 15, then 16. Into turn 17 now. Underneath the Fly Emirates banner. Underneath the grandstand, through turn 18, then 19. You can see here the mechanical grip of the medium tyre paying dividends through here. Texas a lot quicker than the Red Bull. Now through the final two corners, 22 and 23. He'll open the DRS. He won't attack here. He'll be waiting for turn 7. Through turn 1, into turn 2. Perhaps not using as much curb as he could. Through there. Into turn 5. The exit here will be critical. Oh, and that's a shocking exit for Curving. He's not attacking this lap. There's no way he'll be attacking this lap. Oh, but that's an opportunistic move from Curving. And that's what I mean. You've got so many more laps to try and attack. Why go now? I mean, yeah, there was maybe a 50-50 chance, but that was Sorel's corner for sure. You weren't even remotely alongside. Should have been a bit patient there, waited a lap. You got a bad exit out of 5, there wasn't any need to go for it then. You could have stuck in behind, just waited another lap, waited for another opportunity. That's what I mean, that's the gamble. That's the risk of going at every opportunity. Sometimes you have to know as a driver when to go for it and when to step back. And I think that was a situation where Curving probably should have stepped back. He's sitting behind Sorel for another lap. Luckily he hasn't lost enough time so then he loses DRS completely. But that will put a bit of extra wear on the tyre. And that will put Curving in a bit more of a pissy mood as well. He won't like that too much, I reckon. But he ran the risk of going into that wall, and if he did, that would have been race over for Curving. Sorel breaking the toe just a little bit, weaving on the straight, trying not to give Curving a slipstream through turn 3. Now into turn 4, apparently this is turn 4. Then into turn 5, 4th gear. Does he get a better exit this time round? He does, but I don't think he's close enough. No, I don't think he's close enough. Sorel defends, he'll move back onto the racing line. Oh, Sorel, that's not very good defending there, I must admit. Sorel really compromised himself into turn 7. What he should have done was got back onto the racing line instead of sticking into the middle of the road, because what it meant is that he compromised his line through 7, allowing Curving to gain massively, as you saw there. It's just a bit of racecraft, you know, in the back of your mind stuff, you know. Defend, but, you know, the guy's not close enough to make a move. Get back onto the racing line, take the corner, you know. But do it before the braking zone, not during the braking zone. If you do it during the braking zone, it could be nasty contact between Curving and Sorel. They're going to be side by side, heading through 15 into 16. Curving, I believe, will take P3 now, away from Sorel. What can this man do? He just had a podium snatched away from him now. The guy in front is on fresher, softer tyres. What can this man do? He'll have DRS, but it's going to be an uphill climb for Sorel to try and overtake Curving. He'll have DRS here. He'll gain a little bit. Half a second, 4/10 of a second into turn 1. He just can't carry this corner speed. That's a warning. That was bound to be a warning, so now Sorel has 2. I'm certain of it. We'll have a quick squiz. I thought it was. You can see that there, right at the bottom of your screen, bottom right. There's the warning. And what Sorel should probably do is just try and put Curving under pressure. Curving is 1 warning away from a penalty. So is Sorel, but Curving now has it all to lose. He has all the cards, Curving Texas. It's up to him to whether or not he keeps his podium. It will all come down to one mistake from the Alfa Romeo driver. Just one. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, these two have remained relatively untouched. GeForce Dre has gained on Kickbutt Kiwi, but nowhere near enough to challenge him for that win. He needs to gain another 3.5 seconds in order to try and challenge the Racing Point, and I don't see him doing that unless, of course, Kickbutt Kiwi makes a massive mistake of some description, which I don't think he'll do. He will come around the final 2 corners to begin the final 5 kilometers of the Singapore Grand Prix, lap 31 of 31. The gap is 6.2 seconds between him and GeForce Dre. Both of them on the alternate strategy, making it work, the hards to mediums. Staying out of trouble, getting no damage, and track position, playing their part massively in this race. In both of their races, really. To be first and second, using the alternate strat. Curving in P3, making his way around. I am sure I haven't seen him pick up a pen. I'll quickly double check. He hasn't yet. But he is just 1 warning away. That's all it is. Gap between him and 4th place is 1.9 seconds. It's now opened up to 2. Keep an eye on Curving. This is a place where you can make an error. Through the Singapore sling, you might be able to cut a corner a bit too much through here. Particularly this one, turn 11. No, he keeps it completely away from the curb. He doesn't want to touch it. He doesn't want anything to do with it. Around turn 13. See, they're staying well within the right lines. This is the next place where he might be able to gather a warning. Running wide here at 14. See that white line? That keeps well within it. Harass having a spin. Deary me. But here comes Kick Butt Kiwi. A superb drive from him. He will take the victory here at the Singapore Grand Prix, with G4 Stray coming home in a remarkable second place after a poor qualifying session, making the alternate strategy work. And then the two-stop strategy for Curving Texas will give him third place, with Sorel coming home in P4, exactly 3 seconds behind. Imagine if Curving had a 3-second pen. I wonder what the game would do at that moment. That would be very interesting to see. But that's a very awesome gap, exactly 3 seconds. Jerkanemo, a solid drive, will come home in P5. After being second for most of the race, he done really well. The Rock will come home in 6, but I believe Blocky Rex will overtake him because of time penalties. There we go. Blocky jumps up to P6, the Rock into 7th. Grim Reaper will stay in 8th place. And F1 Hawk, after a fairly poor race for him, getting damage, he will come home in the points. He will get 9th place in 2 points for himself in the drivers' standings, and 2 points for Haas in the constructors, with Edmund in the Renault, the last finisher in P10 on those soft compound tyres. I'll just quickly check who's got fastest lap, and that is Harass, so no one will be getting the fastest lap point, unless of course this man can do it, which he isn't. Edmund will not be getting fastest lap here. That will go to Harass. But not a bad Singapore Grand Prix. Typically with more cars around here, you tend to get a bit more chaos. Remarkably no safety cars. Driver of the day, that's fair enough. From starting P8 to finish second, a pretty good performance there from G4 Stray. Having to deal with the midfield earlier on in the race and to not get wing damage is a very solid feat indeed. But you can't take it away from this man. Kick Butt Kiwi takes the win here at Singapore. A fantastic drive, making the alternate strategy work. And kudos as well to Curving Texas, taking home third place for Alfa Romeo, making the two-stop strategy work. I didn't think it would be that quick around here. As it turns out, at least with the right driver behind the wheel, it's a pretty effective strategy. But this will be the unofficial results for the Singapore Grand Prix. Kick Butt Kiwi takes victory by 4 seconds over G4 Stray, with Curving Texas in third. Sorel will finish in 4th place, Jerkanemo in 5th, Blocky Rex in 6th, The Rock in 7th, Grim Reaper in 8th, F1 Hawk in 9th, Edmund in P10, and Harass rounding out the finishes in 11th place. And I'll quickly grab Race Director, why not? Might as well. If the stewards need the Race Director, they could come and watch the stream. If they need to have a look at warnings and whatnot, here's all the pit stops as well. You can see the front wing. It ultimately cost a lot of these drivers. You can see all the drivers who got damage in the front wing, none of them finished in the top 5. But yeah, you can see there. Edmund, Tri-Kid, Harass, Edmund again. You can see then, getting damage around a circuit like this, or in the game in general, it's a very, very bad thing. It's very difficult to come back from getting damage during the race. You can see here all the pit stops as well. But yeah, the alternate strategy working, and for